Well, welcome back, everyone, to Student Dream TV, where we are teaching you how to make more than enough money for college and life. And we're in such a crazy season right now where I don't even want to focus on financial wealth. After hearing from students like our guest Ethan Castro and from teachers and parents, we got to talk about mental wealth, right? Like, we got to get our minds right. We have to get through this season, and Ethan is such a great example of that. So we are going to talk about mental wealth today and just how to build it and how Ethan's building and how other students can build it. So keep listening, y'all. Well, Ethan, it is so good to have you here, Mr. Ethan Castro.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing amazing right now, man. I'm just so grateful to have awesome mental health, and I just want to help others.
That's real. That's a great mentality, Ethan. So introduce yourself. Who is Ethan Castro?
My name is Ethan. I go to Brooklyn Technical High School. I'm a junior. I'm blessed enough that my school has majors. I majored in finance. Right now I'm taking economics and accounting, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I live in Bay Ridge. I love exercising. I love entrepreneurship. I love riding my bike, and I love video games.
Let's go. I love it. So to kick things off, Ethan, I, as a professional, have been experiencing this pandemic, but Student Dream, we're here for the students, right? We want to make sure that students are becoming wealthy, not just financially, primarily financially, right? But part of that is personally, professionally, and mentally. And so how have these 8 months been for you?
Well, these 8 months have been very, I would say, pivoting. So before these 8 months, I was a bit of, I had the mindset of everyone else. I had a group mindset, all right, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. And I had a bit of a timeline, a streamlined mindset of what I'm going to do later on. And I also had a habit of basing my inner emotions and inner mental health on others. And now that we don't have that anymore, and I don't have the aspect of getting validation in person, I had to figure out other ways to pivot that part of my brain that desires different validation and such. And I'm blessed enough to have come up with the way of doing it in a sense that I'm proud of myself. So I had to learn to congratulate myself for little things, because when you don't do that, it helps with instant gratification. Because nowadays with TikTok and all these other social media platforms where you can just scroll, dopamine hit, it's really hard to work on instant gratification. And what helped me was congratulating myself for the little things I did, for getting up earlier than I did yesterday, for doing something that I was pushing back yesterday. And it has snowballed into a habit. Initially, I had to force it. I would say it was like a mountain, all right? And then initially, I was walking up the mountain. But now that I'm up the mountain, it's a breezy walk down. And I understand that that's not the case for everybody.
Right.
And I know that it's selfish of me to have all this information and a great mental health when that's not the case for everybody. So I want to thank Nena for giving me this platform to speak to you guys, because I really want to help.
What has been your perspective, starting from March, when I'm sure your school had closed, through the summer, and then now you're in hybrid. Has it been a positive experience? Was it jarring for you? Was it not? What did you observe in yourself, and what did you observe in the response from other students?
For me personally, I developed the habit of self-learning, I guess you would call it, and learning on my own. It's really helped me a lot. And of course I'm learning in school, but we all know it's not the same. The teachers, it's more of a submit on time rather than learning. Ooh. And that's really hard for me and other kids, because I struggle with motivation and things that I didn't choose to do, or I didn't think of, or I don't see the instant pathway to the benefit. I look at it like a risk and reward, even though there's no risk, and I can't really see the reward, even though I know it's there. And that's a real problem for me that I'm working on. And learning on my own has helped, because I know we all have a lot of time on our hands, and unfortunately social media is present. Social media is so advanced that it's pretty easy to get addicted. I myself at times lose control. Not lose control in the sense that I can't get off of it, but I catch myself. And when I catch myself, I'm like, wow, I really spent the last 2 hours on that.
I know. We all can relate. So it's been definitely adjusting and pivoting, and man, that's a little disappointing realizing that it's submitting on time as opposed to
Yeah.
learning. And so do you, because I think for me, just personally, I am such a glass is half full type of person. I mean, student dream. I wouldn't have started an organization about dreaming and creating businesses and investing regardless of how old you are without a dream. And I think it's so important for everyone listening, young or old, to dream, man, to keep going after your goals. And even during this time where you may be struggling, your parents may be struggling, and experiencing loss, to still have a optimistic perspective, to still have hope. And so I'd love to hear from you, like, as a student, do you think that it's still, even during this time like that, it's possible to thrive?
Yeah, I would say nowadays the average has gone a little down for the expectancy of the amount of output that you have to make. So staying afloat, you don't have to swim anymore. All you have to do is stay afloat. While most people are unfortunately sinking due to outside uncontrollable circumstances, we have to try our best to stay afloat. We don't have to keep pushing on, because then we're going to burn out. And then why burn out now? And then you lose focus later on. And that's just not the best thing for our mental health. And that's not the thing we should all be focusing on right now.
Right.
You can be, it's not the worst thing. It's an amazing thing if you can be, if you have the resilience to focus on that in such historic times. But we should really be focusing on optimizing ourselves rather than, I would say, optimizing our financial circumstances, because I would say we need to optimize ourselves in order to make it easier for us to optimize our financial circumstances. And I know right now there's not a lot of grant money going out. There's not a lot of in-person programs to go to. And so I think you have to try to brainstorm and meditate. I know those are two things I took up during quarantine, and those have helped me the most. Those are the reasons I started my podcast, the reason I started my fitness organization, because for me, I personally don't come up with ideas on the spot. I'm not great at that. That's not me. But what I can do, I have to try. Some people, they don't have to try to come up with ideas. It just comes into their head. For me, I really have to sit still and think. And with all this time we have on our hands, I'm not so sure about everyone, but I know I have a lot of time on my hands that I don't use wisely all the time.
Right.
So a lot of the brainstorming was figuring out, what do I do with my time? TikTok's right there, Instagram's right there, Canva's right there. I can make designs for this or that. And then I was like, what is the best option? And so I just took out a notebook and I tried what Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory. It's this amazing, I guess, motivational, informational channel where he interviews people just like Nana's doing right now. She's doing it a little better than him, though.
Hey.
So he does this thing called thinkitating. And so it's just meditating and thinking of thoughts, whatever comes into your mind. Because I know meditating, everyone's like, that's like yoga. All you have to do is breathe in and out. It's a little too religious-like for me. I'm Christian, and I don't like those outside forces. Outside, I guess you could say, permeating in, because I know a lot of people struggle with like their subliminal messages and everything, and they want to filter it out. And so there's thinkitating. And so just whatever ideas come into your head, just write it down on a piece of paper. And my dad introduced me to, I'm so grateful to have my dad. He's an amazing person. And I know not everyone has a resource like I do with my dad. And I don't have to share my dad per se, because I'm a little selfish with that, but I can share a little bit of what he teaches me. And he introduced me to this guy named James Altucher. He's like a writer for different things and a businessman. And he says, write down 10 ideas a day. And over the course of a week, that's 70 ideas. And of course, a lot of them are going to be fluff. You cross them out, and at the end of a month, you're going to have some good ideas.
I love that. You need to be a lead instructor at Student Dream. I'll bring you in.
Maybe.
So 10 ideas. Writing out 10 ideas a day. That's 70 ideas a week. That'll get your mind flowing. That'll help to be improving yourself, which obviously is a huge driver to improving your financial health.
Of course. Just get the ball rolling, guys. I know some of you guys are like, oh, but I like music. And you could do this with anything. Anybody could come up with ideas for anything. I may not like music, but let's just say I got this beat in my head. Maybe I have to record it. I'm not a musician, but maybe I have ideas that can help other musicians. Maybe I'm not a businessman, but I got this idea, this awesome business idea of creating these awesome t-shirts. And maybe I don't know how to make t-shirts, but my friend does. Maybe you partner up with your friend. There's a lot of I would say relational wealth, and even relational wealth with your mom. I know some people struggle with, oh, I'm home 24 hours a day, 25 hours a day with my mother, 8 days a week. And sometimes you got to make the best of it. There's no changing the circumstances right now. And the best you could do is optimize what you already have.
Optimize what you already have, y'all. Optimize what you already have. That is huge, Ethan. And I think about the concept of, using what you have, being responsible with what you can't control, what is in front of you. And I mean, to have a mom, to have a dad, to have access to a laptop and the internet, a teacher, those are some really powerful resources. So that's huge. And that'll help you not just to stay afloat, but to thrive, right? Because that's reigniting this whole idea of being able to congratulate yourself. Like, yo, I watched that video. I came up with one idea, with 2 ideas. Let me come up with 3 or 4 or 5. And even knowing you have something to offer. I love what you said initially, Ethan. You were like, I made this podcast because I shouldn't be the one holding all this information in and not serving others with it. Like, yo, you have information to share. You have experiences to share. And I know that it's up and down. Some days we do believe it, some days we don't believe it. But it really is a discipline to write it down what you do have, so that even on those days where you're like, man, I'm over this is so hard, that you can look to it and be like, oh, I'm a good speaker. I'm a good artist, I'm a good writer. I studied today, So I love that, Ethan. That's really good.
Be your own motivational speaker.
Yes, you have to, right? Because people aren't always going to be there. I think about, there's this song, and it talks about like learning how to encourage yourself, right? Because as much as we need, and as much as we are interdependent, and like, don't get me wrong, you need people in your life. Everyone right? Does. I need Ethan. Ethan needs me. Ethan needs his dad. His dad needs Ethan. Like, we're all supposed to work together as much and as easy as it is to work on by ourselves. Like, we need people. We were made for people and community.
Oh, definitely.
But not everybody's always going to be there, right? And so as you're growing in responsibility, as you're growing and progressing as a student, as an adult, right, you need to learn how to encourage yourself. And so we can see this as an opportunity to do just that.
Oh, and I know a lot of people, they struggle with when they're alone with their thoughts. It's really negative. And I know that's really difficult. I may not ever feel the same way as you guys, but I understand how bad it can be. And I know it's way worse than I would think it is.
Yeah.
And this is why you have to take advantage of the good scenarios. I know a lot of people, they're not very pleased when good things are happening to them because they know it's going to end. But I would say, don't take advantage of people, but take advantage of the situation. Now in COVID, I'm also speaking through the lens of someone who's not been a dire victim of COVID-19, so please forgive me if I'm being insensitive. But we have a lot of time on our hands, and I know we're not that motivated, but the amount of time we have on our hands, we probably won't have this much time again. Wow. And this is not to make you unmotivated and being like, I wasted all this time in the past. We can't change the past. We can just focus on now and the future. And so even if it's just like building habits, I know there's this guy named James Clear. He made a book called Atomic Habits. I'm not going to go too much into it, but incremental stuff, like Nena was saying. Sometimes if I'm on YouTube today and I watched 8 hours of entertainment and 1 hour of informational content, tomorrow I changed 10 minutes of it. I watched 7 hours and 50 minutes of entertaining content and 20 minutes of hour and 10 minutes of informational content. Yeah. And so it's the little increments, and you have to congratulate yourself. Even if you're doing way worse than the person next to you, it's still better than you were yesterday. The only person you could compare yourself is to yourself, because that's the only person you are, and that's the only person you're the exact same as.
Yeah. And it may sound like a cliche because we hear it over and over again, but let it be a cliche. Like, it's the truth. And there's so many things that are cliches, but we never believe them and apply them to our own life. So y'all, like, believe that. Just compare
yeah.
yourself to your own self. It's easier said than done, but again, as you progress and make it a habit every day of acknowledging, what you did for the previous day and how you did it again and again, and that's a good habit, you're going to get better. You're going to stay motivated. So I love that, Ethan. So what do when you've seen so many students at Brooklyn Technical High School, which is a high school you go to, right? You have your friends. What do you want to say to students who, whether they're at Brooklyn Tech or at LaGuardia or at John Jay College, what do you want to say to students who are struggling right now, who need some hope and encouragement?
I want to say you can make it. We're a lot stronger than we think we are. We can get a lot stronger than we already are. Mm-hmm. And I know right now it's hard to improve because you see not only yourself, but you see other people regressing around you. And not that they're bad people, but the circumstances right now, it's hard to progress. And so, as I said before, it's really hard to swim right now. The tide is hitting us, and it's really hard. But rather than sinking, we should just try to stay afloat. Just work on your mental health. Right now, if you can't focus on, let's just say you wanted to write a book before, and you don't have the motivation to write the book, you don't have to work on the book, but work on your motivation. Work on how you feel about other things. Work on your mental health. Try to make positive out of everything, even though you don't see any. Faith is seeing light with your heart when your eyes see only darkness. And with that, I know it's really hard right now. There's people around you. I know a lot of my friends are traumatized because they saw those freezers in the parks. But all I can say to them is you don't have to be a high achiever right now. There is no such thing as a high achiever. Right now, everyone's having a hard time. It's not just you. And I want you to know that because I know a lot of people on social media, they still see the people they follow having a good time. And that's not the reality for you. And that's not the reality for them. Social media is just an image they put up and a persona. And don't be afraid to get therapy, man. And conversations can be like therapy. Talking with your friend.
Absolutely. Some of the best things that y'all can be doing right now. And even for me, I just understanding like our physical biology, one of the things that we need, there's a hormone inside our bodies. I think is it serotonin or cortisol, to keep cortisol down.
Oh yeah.
Aside from getting good sleep, and don't like quote me on this because I may get the hormones wrong. But one of the things that really helps with our mood and all that is love, right? Is getting hugs, talking with a close friend, doing things that make you happy and bring you joy. But one of the funniest things to me was getting a hug. And so I remember a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, time is whatever. I saw a friend on the street and I just gave her the biggest hug.
Awesome.
I obviously, I don't have COVID, so you always have to plug in that disclaimer.
Unfortunately.
But hug somebody or try to get a hug. We'll figure it out. If you don't have someone you can hug at home, we gotta find someone to get you a hug.
And sometimes you gotta force it in the beginning. In the beginning, it might not feel great because you wanted to stay alone. Your social muscles aren't there; they're atrophying because of things out of your control. But you gotta force it. I know. I caught myself when I saw Nena's email. She was like, "Oh, may I interview you tomorrow?" And of course, I wanted to do it. But part of me was like, "Oh, that's a responsibility. I could get away with just not responding to this email and nothing happening to me." And sometimes and I know that I'm lucky enough to have a great mental health, and if I struggle with that, I know other people do too.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not a good feeling when you catch yourself doing that. The fact that part of you even wants to do that, it makes me cringe a little bit that I even thought of that. And I have to force myself, because sometimes when your counselor forces you, your teachers force you to present, you feel proud of yourself afterwards. But in the beginning, you didn't. And you have to remember how you felt afterwards, how you're going to feel afterwards. And not ignore how you're feeling in the present, because feelings matter.
Yeah.
But don't let it control you all. Don't let it stray you away from positive things, because I know it's really easy. Without the in-person social contact, there's in-person social norms are leaving. Accountability, respect. That's why there's a lot of Zoom prank calls and Zoom accidents right now. It's really unfortunate But without consequences, it's hard to not divert back to the easiest option. The easiest option is to have fun. People aren't inherently lazy. You're not inherently lazy. It's just sometimes that's the easiest option. And if you don't force yourself, that's what's going to happen, because it's natural.
Yeah. And it really helps to figure out what motivates you. So I know for me,
definitely,
I have some exercise goals, and it was easy for me to, eat a bunch of junk food, get my carrot cake, eat my slice of pizza, from Broccolino down the street, delicious, or Patsy's. But I was literally thinking about, man, what do I do? Like, I like this, but I want this. And it really is, and I talk about this in Student Dreams, college money course, is like, we need to embrace our friends when it comes to achieving our goals. And one of our best friends is sacrifice, right? We need to embrace the fact that
throughout history,
it is possible to love two things at the same time. You could totally love carrot cake, but totally love being in shape. And there will come a time where you will have to make a sacrifice. And so I think it's beginning to figure out, what do I really want? What really motivates me? And then, of course, accountability is huge, right? Having people who you're like, yo, I need you to hold me to this. It really does make a difference. And also hearing stories of people who've gone and are where you want to be, right? And seeing how they got there. Their full progress is really encouraging as well. So find those three things, y'all. Find out what motivates you, figure out what you need to sacrifice, and hear stories of like Ethan who are doing it. And Ethan's not some alien, right? He's a man just like you and me, a human being. And so
of course
you can do this. So I love that, Ethan. And I love everything you've responded with.
And I've been getting into a little bit of neuroscience, and as Nena was talking about with the chemicals in your brain, when you realize what triggers what and how chemicals influence your emotions, not that it makes it any less important, but the direct correlation, you start to realize different things. Like before, when I used to snack, I used to be like, why do I want snacks all the time? And I realized there was a hormone called ghrelin in your stomach that makes you hungry. And you also realize different patterns with it. And I used to think, why do I want all these sweets? And I was like, wait, so you're telling me I just want it for dopamine? Then you're telling me I just want this 30-second feeling for something I'm going to regret for 5 minutes. And of course, in the beginning, you're still going to make the mistakes. In the beginning, I still ate cake. But now I still eat cake, but I can refrain myself better. Willpower. Willpower is crazy important during these times. And I know it's really hard because we have all this time on our hands. We have our computer, we have our phone, the most entertaining thing at our fingertips, and no consequences for using it anytime. And that's really hard, man. And it sucks. It sucks that we have so much freedom. I know how weird it sounds, but it sucks that we have so much freedom at such a malleable time.
I would use a different word. I would say, because I've been thinking about this for a while now. Not just freedom, but we have choices, right? Because when you think about, we do have so many choices, but freedom, and we do have freedom as well, but I would say we have a lot of choices, but freedom really comes when we're able to give ourselves those boundaries to make the right choices. Right? I see. Freedom is being able to say, yo, I can choose between this, let me not say carrot cake again. I can choose to watch a third episode, 20-minute episode, or I can choose to listen to that audiobook for 30 minutes. I mean, this is something I'm literally going through because I need to learn. I need to learn a lot. There's a lot of professional development I'm doing right now for Student Dream to make sure y'all have enough money for college and life. And that takes a lot of studying, right? Teachers aren't just spitting random stuff, but like real research. And so I have to read a lot. And so as much as I want to watch another episode of Catastrophe on Amazon Prime or another movie, like I need to actually stop. And so freedom is that ability to say like, yo, we're going to stop at 1 or 2 episodes because of the vision that I have, because of the dream that I have. And that's why it's so important for your goals, for you, I would say for you to even have goals during this time, because that's what's going to help you to say yes or no to certain things and make different decisions. If it's relevant to you, if it matters to you, you'll be able to say yes or no to whatever you need to say yes or no to.
I also read in neuroscience, when you don't have a goal, your body's in idle. Like your engine's on, but you're not going anywhere. And sometimes that's not very good for you. So even if it's a small goal, super small goal. And also something else, I was also, a little thing I go by when I want to make a decision, and part of me thinks one of them is a bad decision, and I know which one it is, but one of them is very tempting. Well, how will I feel tomorrow? How will this positively or negatively impact me tomorrow? Because I know when I eat, let's just say carrot cake, as Nena was saying, I feel good for a good minute.
We got to get a carrot cake to promote or market. This is brought to you by Carrot Cake Incorporated. We got to make some money for carrot cake.
For a good minute, I feel good. That was some good carrot cake. But then 10 minutes later, I was like, was that really worth it? Did I really need that? And then when I'm scrolling through, let's just say TikTok, in the moment, I'm scrolling, I was like, oh, this is funny, and I'm getting dopamine hits. So my brain, social media has tricked your brain into rewarding you for something that really has no positive reward, and there's no risk.
Wow, we've been duped.
And then, so what dopamine is, from what I understand, it rewards you for being en route to your destination. Not when you get to your destination, but going to your destination. And so it's trying to reward you to keep you going. But social media has hacked it. And unfortunately, because of the fact that not all of our brains are completely formed, it really hits us really hard. And that's not, we don't have to be victims to it, because we do have freedom to be on it or not be on it. But it's not entirely fair to us that we have to struggle through that. Every generation has its urges and struggles, but I feel like this one's really strong, and this one, it's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's seen as nothing wrong with it. And that's really hard when everyone else is doing it, and then the only person telling you not to do it is yourself.
Wow.
That personal accountability is hard.
What do you see as some opportunities right now for students?
Right now, the opportunities
both in high school and college, yeah.
You kind of got to make your own. Unfortunately, that's the case right now. And of course, we have Student Dream, and we could take advantage of the opportunities we received in the past, maximize what we already have. Right now, it's hard to build upon what we already have because everything seems to be closed down. And that's unfortunate. But fortunately, we have internet. We have access to practically all the information in the world. We have large-scale communication. I know right now I can't connect to 1 billion people, but potentially I can. And I know there's analysis paralysis because we could do all of it. We're not going to do any of it. And that's just how our brains function. And sometimes if you had a phone in 1995, let's say, imagine how much you would do with it. Imagine how much you realize, wait, I can do this, I can do that. But nowadays, everyone has it and no one's doing it. So instead of social media and your phone being the tool that it has a potential to be, it is, instead of using it, unfortunately, it seems to be using us. That doesn't make anyone less of a better person. That's just the reality of it. I struggle with it all the time, 24/7 actually. Even in my sleep, I dream about using my phone. It's neither here nor there. And it's really hard. And the best, we have to force ourselves. I know sometimes we're like, we feel like doing it this day, and this day we just feel like not doing it. And sometimes we trick our brains into, when we're feeling lazy, we trick our brains into thinking we're fatigued.
Wow.
Sometimes I'll be going to the gym, and one day I feel a little bit sore. I'll be like, oh, I'm sore, I shouldn't go to the gym today. Even though later on, when the gym's closed, I catch myself being that I was lazy. And sometimes we have to force ourselves, not burn ourselves out, but don't be too scared to light the match.
Come on, make your own opportunities. And so, I mean, that is a great opportunity to bring up an opportunity that you created for yourself during this time. So tell me, as we think about this subject of mental wealth, it's right up your alley with the podcast that you started. So talk to me about that podcast and why you saw that as an opportunity.
I have a podcast. It's called OK Zoomer on Spotify. And I'm just using it right now to help my friends. I know my friends are going through some tough times. And sometimes it's hardest to connect to the people that are closest to you. It's hardest to give advice to your mom or dad because they've seen you when you didn't know anything. So what forces them? Why do they have to listen now? And that doesn't mean they're a bad person, or let's just say you don't have a mom and dad and you don't have anyone to share stuff with. It doesn't make anyone a bad person, or it doesn't make anyone seem less than, but that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And I started my podcast because I know a lot of my friends were missing out on the intellectual conversations that people have in school, and those are important. You could talk to your parents and just talk about how your day is going and talk about what's going on social media, but that's not the same as a stimulating conversation. A stimulating conversation is powerful, but sometimes talking, adding a sense, I like to think of this, adding a sense to your ideas helps. So if I have an idea and writing it down, seeing it helps. When I'm texting my friend, I could text forever without a response because I'm like, oh wait, I could build this off of that. I could build this off of that. And that's not the type of person I am. I'm not wired for that. I had to try and program myself for that, and it was very hard. And don't slack and lack. If, right now, I don't have an Apple MacBook. I wish I had a MacBook, and theoretically I could afford it within a few months. I'm grateful for that. But right now I'm working on a Chromebook, $200 Chromebook. That doesn't mean I have to work a fifth of the effort because it's a fifth of the price.
Wow.
Oh, I just got to try my best with what I have. And I know, because if you adopt that mentality, when you get the MacBook, you're going to compare it to something else. And there's always going to be something bigger and better. And you can't let external... Oh, okay, so I'm going to diverge it to something else. So I love neuroscience, and one of the neuroscientists I follow, he gave this example. These kids love drawing. And then eventually the teachers gave stickers for good drawings. And then when the teachers took the stickers away, the kids stopped drawing. You can't let external circumstances determine your internal feeling all the time. I know that's extremely hard, but once you develop a self-esteem, a self-confidence, a self-awareness that the way others think of you isn't everything, and the results of this doesn't determine how you are. If you get a 65 on a test, that doesn't mean you're just a passing person. You're better than that, and you can't let small things define you, and you can't let a stream of unluck, or I guess bad luck, define you as well.
Yeah.
And I know it's really hard for some people because they've just barely made it through everything,
and it's
or they
hard.
didn't make it.
It's hard, and like it's important to acknowledge that it's hard. And my bad for interrupting you, but we can get through it, y'all. We can get through it because we have to. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have choices. We have two choices, like to give up or to keep going. And so let's choose to keep going because, right, there's purpose there, because there's destiny there. And I have to like share, that's the reason why Student Dream, being a financial education nonprofit that helps students make more money for college and life, we created an album, you know, and we created an album because we wanted it to be a tool to encourage you to keep moving forward and inspire you to keep moving forward when it gets hard. It's called 600 Miles to Freedom. I'll put the link in the bio. Definitely check it out. And if you want to feel good, you know, if you want to be encouraged and if you want some hope, definitely check out that album because it really is, it lends to that theme of like, even though things are hard, we got to choose to keep going. We can't quit. What would you say are one or two or three or whatever, how many things that can help students handle the stress and the anxiety and the fear that many of us are experiencing during this time? Students and the donors listening, the community listening, the mentors listening, everybody.
And I would like to say this too shall pass. We can't disrupt our whole life because of an unfortunate circumstance, but we have to try. There's nothing wrong with things happening, but there's a thing wrong with not trying. And it's okay to be that way, but it's not okay to stay that way. How hard it may be, as hard as it may be. And so, number one, no, this too shall pass. No, this is gonna pass, and determining on how you react now will determine the outcome later on. And two, don't subscribe to anything. I know right now there's a trend feeling depressed because of the lack of social interactions, and of course that's real. But I've seen a lot of my friends subscribe to different narratives that, not that they're the victim per se, but that they can be, and that right now is an unfortunate circumstance and it's the worst that it's ever been in history, and everything going on is terrible and it's happening to them.
As a Black woman, I am so inspired when I look at history, right? So when I think about and not to say racism doesn't exist, it never happens now, but I will never allow myself to be, to let somebody else hinder me from moving forward, especially when I look at what, there were there were slaves who were entrepreneurs.
That's crazy.
Who purchased their own freedom because of right? It's like in the midst of lynchings and extreme, legalized discrimination, these people built businesses, created inventions for peanuts, created newspapers, created music and arts, created all these incredible products, services, got their PhDs, master's degrees. So we can look back, you don't have to think, but that for anybody, right? Black or not, you can look at that and be inspired. But I think you can look at things like the Holocaust or, world wars.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many worse things, but that people were still able to push through. So.
And nowadays, too, privilege is not only the color of your skin and how much money you make, it's also where you live. And I know, even though the part of Mexico where my family's from isn't really struggling with COVID-19 right now, they don't have everything I have. I have more things in my small apartment than they do in their whole, I guess you could say, area. And I'm really blessed to have that, and I believe everything is for a reason. So there's a reason I'm as privileged as I am to be in the position that I am. And even if you're not very good in America, well, less exaggerative, let me see, in your small vicinity, there is worse and there is better.
Wow.
I know it's hard because you're like, oh, there's better, but there's also worse.
Wow.
And there's a lot of people right now that have it worse day to day rather than during COVID. Like, they don't have the information we have. Because when you don't have the information you have, everything's a mystery. And when everything's a mystery, it's a little scary. And
Gratitude.
We're fortunate to be where we are. Yeah.
I think that's a huge, that just is reminding me of really being thankful,
definitely.
like just having for anything, right? It could be for an internet connection, for you to be able, if you're watching us, listening to this, be thankful for that. Not everybody has access to this internet services or the hardware needed. So I really, that's super important. And again, you said, don't be so quick to subscribe to narratives.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, I've seen a lot of my friends post like, oh, going through the typical teenage anxiety and depression. Ooh. And of course there is, but when you see that all day, it's going to manifest. Your subconscious is going to make that the state that you're in. You're going to make a phase, unfortunately, permanent, and that's possible if you don't protect yourself and filter what you see, what comes through your eyes and ears. And I know it seems whatever, you hear this person saying this person saying this, and you think you're ignoring it, but your brain is processing it. And you don't want the wrong things to happen because you were not being attentive and proactive. And it's hard when you don't know what to do. But I know it's hard because I know Gary Vee on Instagram. He's always like, execute, do this, do that. Well, try hard, but you don't know what to try. You don't know what to try. There's nothing you have, or there's no goals you have that you need to execute upon. And I know that's really difficult. But that's where the brainstorming comes in. If you're having anxiety, brainstorm different things, the cause and effect. So the cause is COVID-19 is making you sad. Okay, let's just say the cause is your family's having a hard time is making you sad. Let's just see what's making your family have a hard time. Let's just say your mom she doesn't have the friends she had at work. Maybe you could be friends with your mom. Let's just say your brother's not doing very good in school. You could help your brother out. And there's so many different things. There's so many things we don't know. There's so many things we do know. And not ignore the things we know, but we have to try to know more. As Nana was saying, when she reads audio, she listens to audiobooks rather than watches the extra episode. And sometimes that doesn't need to help only you, but you could share that information with someone else. And that information could snowball and come back. It could come back like a boomerang, and someone could give you information that you help them get that helps you. And whenever you give, you're going to get. And it might not be instantly, but know you're going to get back. And sometimes you have to force yourself to give, because sometimes our brains want the instant gratification. Realize you're not the only one. And if you're not the only one, then there's other people, and there's most likely people in your vicinity that you can speak to. And through speaking, you can come up with ideas and solutions, even if that's not the goal of it. And there's always something that positives that come out of negatives, and perhaps you might be going through this right now to help others that are going through it in the future. And I know it's really difficult to think that, because in the moment it's happening to me, it's just me. But no, there's other people, and I'm not asking you to just befriend all the other people and those are the people you need to hang out with, but you should try and speak to them, because if perhaps you can't afford a therapist or you don't have access to a therapist, I know there's a lot of free programs in New York City, but speaking to someone else could help them, because I know some people, they don't know what motivates them, and that's completely understandable. Some people don't have the goal setting skills, or they don't know what goals to set to help them. And they're an idle and they're looking for the directions, and there's no service right now.
But there is Student Dream.
There is Student Dream.
And so
Student
that is just
awesome.
That's a great plug. I mean, Ethan participated in our summer program, which was really a modified form of what we do. You know, but if you need, and if you're looking for just direction, if you're tired of the confusion that comes with and just the discouragement that often comes with not knowing what you want to do, right? Or what motivates you, what your goals are, and specifically how to pay for college and afford college. If you're interested in learning just about how money works, how to invest, how to start a business, how to choose a career, find your interests, find your passions and your purpose, definitely check out Student Dream. We have a bunch of courses. We have our membership program that gives you that community of people and teachers and other students who are, going after their goals and their dreams with the support community, with the guidance that they need, the mentors that they need. So definitely, you can click the link in our bio in the show notes specifically to learn more. But yeah, being able to be connected with students like Ethan from all across New York, that's a community right there. That's some direction right there. And so Ethan, last question for you, it can be hard to dream during this time.
Oh yeah.
How's that been for you? Do you still have goals for, the current semester, the next semester, and the next, few years to come?
Before I answer that, I just want to say Nena's plug right there, that wasn't just a regular plug. It's legit. And maybe you don't need advice on money right now, but she has a professional insight on that, but she's also a person, and she's experienced things that you might be experiencing right now. So you may have to just try to connect with her based off of that. But even if she can't help you herself, she could give advice from an outside perspective, and perspectives are everything. And to answer the question, it is hard to dream right now. It's really hard. And there's times when I struggle with motivation, and I realize that this is how other people feel all the time. And sometimes I just feel bad, because the way I feel, I don't like the way that feels. And I also figure out how fortunate I am to be in the position I am in with the mental health that I have. Not I made it myself, not that I curated it and I programmed myself to be like that. It's luck. And I just want to say some people are unlucky right now, but you have to try. You have to try to improve your mental health. I know I'm saying try a lot, but try different videos, how to increase confidence, because you might not need confidence when you're home alone, but it helps to know that you can do something. Confidence is not, oh, I'm attractive, I have nice clothes. Confidence is knowing you could do something successfully, and you think you can do it. You can have the successful outcome. So I just want to say it is hard to dream right now. You might not know what to dream about. You might have dreams that you can't even put into words, because it's just all going crazy back and forth, and you might just need to align it. And I don't have all the information right now on how to do that, but you can reach out to Nena via Student Dream. She can help you with that. And Nena's an amazing person, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me and helping me.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Ethan, thank you for continuing to try. I think just seeing that you're continuing to move forward, even if that may look like a crawl, for you at times,
Oh, yeah.
like that's inspiration. And so I wouldn't have had you on this show if you weren't a great example and an encouragement to all the students out there, to all the adults out there listening. So thank you for trying, right? Thank you for, if some days that try looks like a crawl, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Because for everybody listening, like, yeah, like, keep trying, keep crawling, because your story matters, your life matters, your experiences matter, and we need you to keep going. You need yourself to keep going. Others need you to keep going. Future students and family members, all that, they need you to keep going. So keep pressing forward. And if you want some feel-good music that'll get you encouraged, check out our album, 600 Miles to Freedom, because I'm sure that it will encourage you. Just click play for that encouragement. Listen to some of our other videos. Join our community, so where you can get that constant encouragement, direction, guidance, and just the peace of mind that comes with having people who care about you and who have a bit of perspective. So appreciate you, Ethan.
I don't want to be another guest. You have two resources right here. You have Nana and I. If you don't know, if you hear try so much, and I hate when people do this. They say try, but they're not saying what to try. And if you need to contact me or contact Nana, I suggest you email Nana, or Nana will put my email in the comments.
Well, thanks so much, Ethan. Hit us up, whatever. We're so excited you'll probably be a guest speaker on and on. Check out OK Zoomer, everybody. And yeah, let's go. Let me know what resonated with you. What was helpful, what wasn't helpful, and what do you still have questions on? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, make sure you like the video, and subscribe to continue to get more inspiration, empowerment, encouragement as you are just moving forward towards your dreams in life, in school, in your career, in your finances. All right. And I will see you next time. Peace.